Mm-hmm.
Breathless with a panic, I prayed, and I said I believed more in angels than I did in God. And the reason was that I've never known God, but I knew several angels, and then a truly phenomenal thing happened. It was as if an impalpable hand were placed upon my head, and at that moment, of that instant, of that touch, the phobia that was driving me into madness was lifted away. I was a snowflake, though it weighed on me like a skull-breaking block of iron. Tennessee Williams once said, "I don't want realism, I want magic." In his search for magic in a world that truly tormented him, he struggled with his sexuality, an entire decade lost to drugs, and a desperate search for love left him no choice but to share his life with his fans and critics alike. Memoirs by Tennessee Williams, with an introduction by John Waters. My mother's overly solicitous attention planted me in the makings of a sissy, and this was a disappointment to my dad. And, well, this only served as a preamble in the story to my great love for Hazel. And, well, Hazel was a redhead with great liquid brown eyes and pearly skin. She had extraordinarily beautiful legs and, well, had developed early. Now, she was inclined to plumpness, but had a great deal of height. In fact, when I was 16 and she was 14, she already outdistanced me in stature. Hazel never said a word to hurt me. You see, it was in my adolescence that I developed this habit of blushing whenever someone looked me in the eyes, as if I harbored behind them some quite dreadful secret. Well, it was in geometry when I happened to look across the aisle and I began to feel my face burning and I was blushing, you see. Well, I was blushing all because she just looked at me and well, suppose this happens whenever I look at someone. Literally. From that instance on, for the next 4 or 5 years. And I would blush whenever a pair of human eyes, male or female, would meet mine. 11 years of our close companionship ripened into that full emotional dependence, which is properly known as love. So, I guess you could say, despite my homosexual loves, which began years later, that Hazel was always the first great love of my life. But when I set off for college in the early fall of 1929, I had a roommate, well, with one hell of a physique, and then I called him Smitty. And Smitty and I one night were sleeping in our underwear under a very light blanket, and well, when the lights went out, I began to feel his fingers caress my upper arms and shoulders, and where our legs got tangled around a sort of bit, and there was a bit of puppy love. But that's as far as it went. I mean, Smitty and I would give in to going on double dates with girls, yet we only found ourselves being mostly frustrated. I mean, really. The girls were not giving us much, and, well, for much of the time that followed, I had not many reservations about my sexual excursions with boys and girls alike. I mean, really, you just can't put it down. And I fell in love rather easily, when the ease was easier, when the subject or object was warm and willing. But I have troubles these days, recounting my countless love affairs and putting them in chronological order. I fell in and out of love with men, women, martinis, and my riding. And at some points, I consider myself some sort of machine, compulsive in every aspect of my life. And that's why when people ask me about my life and ask me about my work, it filled me with frustration, erotic adventures, and contempt. And what is my profession? Besides writing down these stories and these plays and now this book. This book. These memoirs, at best, are only the periphery of what is my intense life. So, I guess you could say that it was just in time when I met my closest companion, Frankie. Well, you see, our relationship was a theatrical sort of event, and well, it all began at a bar. I happened to stray out for a smoke, and well, he followed closely behind, alone, and he was wearing those Levi's of his, and I looked at him, and he looked at him, and well, I guess my intense scrutiny must have just burned a hole right through his shoulder, 'cause he turned towards me and grinned. And so, began a relationship. I lasted for 14 years. During my time away from Frankie's is when I suffered the most disappointments. The egomania of an artist longs out to feel the reach and embrace of a world that sometimes doesn't leave room for even the most loyal of companions. But it left far too much room for Dr. Feelgood. I went in creative sterility and I just lost my sanity. And I came home. I came home to that phone call from Frankie. You see, he'd been diagnosed with lung cancer. And well, the 6 months that they gave him had expired. So immediately I rushed to Manhattan. And there he was, on oxygen. And he was admitted to his own private room as a place that he doubtlessly knew where he was going to die. And I stayed with him. My sleep broken on and off by his fits of cold. But one night, to relieve my pain, I went out and I got drunk. And I came home. I came home to that phone call. To that call. And Frankie was gone. And I guess with his death should have been the end of his and my torture. Yes, but mine to know. For you see, as long as Frankie was alive and well, he had a gift. He had the gift of creating life. And well, when he ceased to live, I couldn't create that life for myself. So breathless with the panic, I prayed. And I said I believed more in angels than I did in God. And the reason was that I've never known God. But I knew an angel